Alright, magandang gabi po mga kakape and welcome back to another episode of course, Kapihan with Sir Lex. Now on Season 2, Episode 11. Ayan, so again, hayatos na naman tayo. Pag nabibisi tayo, nag-hayatos ang ating episodes. But tonight, we are coming back strong kasi napakalupit ng ating guest, no, yung ating bisita for tonight. Now, I want to be the wall between a very good episode and our guest. So let me introduce our guest for tonight. So our guest for tonight is the President and Chief Executive Officer or CEO of Argao Health Incorporated. He is a registered psychologist and psychometrician and a diplomate of the American Academy of Experts in Traumatic Stress. He is also currently a member of the World Health Organization Strategic and Technical Advisory Group on Infectious Hazards with Pandemic and Epidemic Potential. In addition to his clinical practice, our visitor or guest is a peace activist and is engaged in faith based diplomacy and development work through Religious for Peace, where he serves as coordinator or chair of the International Youth Committee, member of the World Council of Religious Leaders, and of the International Executive Committee. He is also currently the Deputy Secretary General of Religious for Peace Philippines and moderator or president of APIYN. He also serves in the executive committee of the Asian Conference of Religious for Peace. He holds a Doctor of Philosophy major in clinical psychology degree, magna cum laude, from the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas. In recognition of his work and leadership, the University of Santo Tomas conferred him the Quezon Leadership Award in 2020. In 2022, he was named the Outstanding Alumni of Angeles University Foundation. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, mga kakapep, please help me welcome our Season 2, Episode 11 guest, none other than Dr. Renz Christian Argao. Magandang gabi po, Doc. Ayan. Welcome to the program. Ayan. I think, I don't know if ako lang, pero parang Doc, hindi namin kayo marinig. Can you, ayan po. Check your audio baka. Ayan! Now we can hear you.
Okay. Magandang gabi ulit, Lex. Magandang gabi sa lahat ng viewers natin. Thank you for having me this evening.
Maraming salamat po for saying yes, no? Kayo po ang aming guest sa aming comeback episode and we're talking of course during the onboarding kanina, and I think this is gonna be a very good episode. So if you're here watching, tawagin niyo na po ang mga friends niyo, family members, specifically family members, friends and colleagues because this night we'll talk about a very good topic. So, kamusta Doc Renz? Kamusta naman ang week niyo? Busy ba or the typical
Uh,
ano?
Typical week natin yung busy pero okay naman. It's a
Correct.
happy week. Very, kumbaga, ano yan, yun yung mga welcome stress na tinatawag natin. So, although
Mhm.
busy, it's a good week naman so far.
All right, that's good to hear. Well, let's jump na para makapag-start tayo since marami tayong gustong i-discuss tonight. Let's talk about you have yung clinical background ninyo, and then meron kayong marami kayong inaral din based on your profile. So let's start. Why choose your course during college? So your college degree is on
Psychology din.
psychology, okay. So why psychology? Any parang influenced by the family ba to or is it something by friends? Tell us a story.
Actually, ano yan, it starts in high school. No? It was influenced by my guidance counselor kung tutuusin. Kasi when I was in high school, tambay ako sa guidance office kasi sa student council, yung advisor namin was a guidance
Mm.
counselor. So, ayun, kinakwento nila what they do as guidance counselors. Tapos parang sabi ko, parang interesting yung ginagawa nila kasi they help students no, who have problems. And nung time na yun, when I was in high school, ako yung takbuhan ng mga friends ko, sa akin humihingi ng advice, humihingi ng tulong on certain problems, gano'n. So, ang ginawa ko, parang sabi ko, gusto ko rin siyang gawin. So, dun sa na-inspire nila ako, si Miss Ulay Lingat, particularly my guidance counselor din, siya nag-inspire, no? Although my family kasi wanted me to take up electrical engineering because of my father. Pero ako, parang ano talaga, geared towards psychology. So, ayun, yun yung naging inspiration. Kaya naman, nung college, sabi ko, magsa-psych na rin yung nako as my college course.
Nice. So, this is a story naman kasi most of the people that I interviewed here more of influence ng mga of course parents at the immediate degree siguro, and then some are mga tito tita, and this is something that parang you've decided already for yourself na yun talaga yung gusto mo, even you're being parang invited to take this particular course, but that's actually good, no? So after taking the course, I think naging smooth sailing ba? I don't want to assume, but smooth sailing ba yung naging experience nyo as a student? Kasi typically yung nagiging problem kapag hindi nga for me for my personal experience na narinig ko from my relatives na parang pag hindi yun yung course na gusto mo, parang ang hirap everyday, hindi ka motivated to do it. But for your case, coming up dun sa gusto mo talaga yung course, Doc, ano ba, different ba siya? Parang lagi ka bang mataas yung energy level? Or ano?
Hindi naman ganun, pero kumbaga, it wasn't really smooth sailing na. Meron ding mga challenges, may frustrations. Pero it was not really more of the course na tinake ko nung time na yun. It was really about other matters, no? That I found to be frustrating. Pero course-wise, dahil nga parang pinili ko siya, I was really excited to learn. I was
Hmm.
the enjoyable siya. And thankfully, I had mentors in college na lalong nagpalalim nung interest ko, lalong nagpalalim nung kagustuhan kong maging psychologist. So parang I already had the passion going into college. And in college, I met mentors who parang fueled that passion eh. Kaya parang sabi ko, dito na talaga ako. Ito na talaga yung field na gusto ko for myself.
All right. That's a good point, no? Especially for those students who are watching and listening. Napakahalaga na during college pa lang, no? Fortunate are those like Doc Renz, no, na had a chance to be mentored. Kumbaga makapagtanong, ano ba talaga yung course ko? Kasi there are a lot of students. When I hear stories, laging sasabihin, fifth year na po ako or wala na palang fifth year ngayon na engineering. Fourth year na po ako, gagraduate na ako, hindi ko pa rin po alam kung ano yung course ko, kung ano yung pwede kong maging trabaho. So it's a very good thing. So, and thank you for sharing that, Doc. So, Doc, after college, what happens next? Nag-work
Mhm.
ka na ba? Naging guidance counselor ka ba kaagad? Or, I mean, ano mo ba yung na-envision mong picture of you when you took the course
Oo.
after graduating?
Nung college kasi, dahil nga na-inspire ako nung prof ko noon, yung mentor ko, si Sir Ryan Shera, sabi ko, gusto kong maging psychologist, clinical psychologist particularly. Kaso, sa Pilipinas kasi, for you to become a licensed psychologist, kailangan mo ng master's degree. So sabi
Oh.
ko, so kailangan ko mag-masteral, no? Kailangan ko mag-aral ulit. So I get a license. Although that was the plan, pagka-graduate, sabi ko, diretso ako ng masteral. Pero yun nga, since my family at that time was not really parang supportive, they did not see a future in psychology for me. So for them, parang my family is a family of businessmen. No? So we run family businesses. So parang sabi nila, ikaw na lang mag-manage ng business natin. They were pushing me towards that. No? To the point na yung mom ko nun, pinag-start niya ako ng sarili kong business. Although prior to that, I worked also sa isang restaurant. No? So, parang they wanted me to be involved in business. So, for about a year and a half, I was involved in running my own business na rin. Pero ano yung passion talaga tinatawag ako. So, hindi ako naging masaya dun sa business. I mean, it was a very good business. It was flourishing. It was successful. I enjoyed it also, pero may kulang yung ganong feeling. So sabi ko, okay, I talked to my mom. Sabi ko, I need to enroll na. I need to follow yung gusto ko talaga. So yun, after running that business, inallow na nila ako na, sige, you enroll for your master's program. At yun, nag-aral na naman ulit ako para sa masteral naman in clinical psychology.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that, Doc. Curious lang ako. You mentioned, no, that the family is not supportive because they're not seeing any future I mean in psychology during that time, and then you've had kumbaga, you've had your share of doing the business or putting up your own business a year or two, something
Yes,
around
around
that, no? And then paano yung work around, kasi syempre parang people would want to know ano yung sinabi mo. Of course, sinabi mo na gusto mo talaga i-pursue, pero gano'n lang ba naging kadali or meron bang parang mga steps pa? Kasi baka yung ibang nanonood sa atin ngayon, may gano'n ding feeling, nakukulong sila dun sa gusto ng mga tao around them para sa kanila, hindi sila maka-break kasi baka
yes.
they don't want conflicts, they don't want, alam mo yon, kasi baka mamaya, eh, sige, di kung yun yung pinili mo, ganyan, ganyan. So may mga ganun tayo, Filipino. So baka you can share a little bit of that before we go to the next segment.
Actually, it was a that those challenges, no, takot na takot ako magsabi nun kasi yun nga, hearing from other people, no, hearing from their experiences na when they push for what they want, gulo yan, no, away, tampuhan sa pamilya. And at that time, I didn't want to disappoint my parents. No? My mom really was parang very supportive yung mom ko with the business. Eh. So parang she was really pushing me. She was giving me everything I needed. Pero hindi ko kayang ibalik yon sa kanya. So parang ako noon, I was afraid of disappointing her. So sabi ko, parang pagbibigyan ko siya kasi I want to give back dun sa support na binigay niya sa akin, like from studying, to graduating, to opening up the business for me. Gusto ko ibalik yon. So parang takot ako noon na pag sinabi ko na ayoko na noon at gusto ko nang mag-psych, ma-disappoint siya. No? So when I talked to her, when I spoke to her about it, I talked about my feelings lang. Kumbaga parang sabi ko, I really appreciate na, you supported me with all of this. Even my dad, nakausap ko siya before that na sobrang thankful ko dun sa lahat ng ginagawa nila. Pero nakukulangan ako. Sabi ko parang there's something that I want to do. And it's really me being a psychologist. And nung time na yun kasi, Lex, yung stigma kasi on mental health, andun eh. Hanggang ngayon naman, meron pa din. No? So, people thought na yung mga psychologists para lang sa mga baliw na walang career sa psych, no? It's either that you're just teaching or nasa mental hospital, and they didn't see that it's a good career path. Kumbaga, they were telling me hindi ka magiging successful, walang parang rewarding dyan sa gagawin mo, yung mga ganong bagay. No? So, and syempre business-minded yung family ko. They were more concerned about my future, na kung wala akong kikitain, paano ako in my future. So, dun sila nanggagaling. So, when I explained to them na why I wanted to do it, I told them yung passion, the desire to help people, knowing that ako as a person, parang I enjoy helping other people, connecting with other people, and then kung paano ko nakikita yung career path ko. So, in-explain ko, sabi ko, magiging lisensyado akong psychologist, magtatayo ako ng clinic ko. Sabi ko, ito yung gusto kong gawin. So, in a way, parang nag-connect yung gusto ng mom ko dun sa gusto kong gawin, which is having my own business. Kasi parang ang hindi nila gustong gawin nun was for me to work for other people. Kasi,
Mm.
from coming from parents who are owners of businesses, ayaw nila yung anak nila, di ba, would work for someone else. So, they wanted me to be my own boss, kumbaga. And nung nakita nila that my goal is eventually to put up my own clinic, I think that helped, no? Pero it hindi siya ganun kadali na parang, okay, go, ganun na, and then everything went smoothly. Hindi siya. It was a period of resistance. It was me trying to find ways para masuportahan din yung pag-aaral ko. But they were also supporting me nung time na yon. So, ano siya eh, parang kinailangan kong pakita sa kanila na this is what I want and I'll be happy with this. And for some time, hindi ko nakita yung support pa eh. It took years before nagkaroon ng turnaround na nakita nila yung value ng ginagawa ko din.
Nice, no? So, thank you for sharing that, Doc Renz, no? So, yun na. So, mga nasa same situation. So, you really just have to have an open communication with your parents para you find the common ground where you can meet, no? Kasi, di ba, parang ako, nagdaan din ako sa point na parang sabi ko sa parents ko, gusto ko nang lumipat ng career kasi hindi ito yung gusto ko eh. Sabi ko, when I was in college, I'm praying for this kind of job, pero hindi ito yung meron ako eh. I'm not thankful with my employer that time kasi I'm receiving good compensation, pero hindi ito magiging healthy sa akin in the future. I mean, mentally and physically, sasabi ko. And then yun nga. But thank you for sharing that. That's a very full of wisdom na sharing there. Now, after that, you've taken your masters and then most likely 2-3 years, correct, no? Mga ganun yung period. And
three
then
years na ba?
after nun, what happens next?
At that time kasi when I started my parang 2 years into my masters,
Mm-mm.
um, napunta naman ako sa teaching, no? Nagkaroon ng
Okay.
teaching job na inoffer sa akin sa yung College of the Holy Spirit na sa Menjola, no?
Mm-mm.
They offered me to teach kasi parang pang-sub lang dun sa isang teacher na nag-resign. So
Mm-mm.
sabi ko, sige, kailangan kong mag-ipon nun for my thesis ng masteral. So, kailangan ko ng racket, di ba? So,
Mm-mm. Right, right.
um, I entered part-time teaching nung time na yun. And then eventually, naging full-time work siya. I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed what I was doing. And so since nasa teaching, I eventually moved to the University of Santo Tomas. Doon ako nagtuturo. Sa academe, no, sa university, for you to be promoted, para umangat yung career mo, kailangan may doctorate degree ka, no? And ako din kasi I really wanted to have my own clinic nung time na yon. So I thought kailangan ko mag-doctorate, no? I need to pursue further studies after masters. Um, Yun yung nagtulak, kaya naman sabi ko, sige, aral ulit ako. Nag-PhD naman ako in psychology. Really to, ano na yun, to parang deepen yung expertise, yung specialization naman in clinical psychology. It took me technically 5 years if I'm not mistaken. Then may period kasi na nag-stop ako because of
Mhm.
work, no. But a lot of it really it was finished in around 5 years time.
Mhm. Nice, no? So, you then pursued again yung path to continuing education kasi requirement again of this particular job. Well, that's well, first for you to stay relevant and to be on the place that you wanted to be, you really have to invest. And one of the most kumbaga precious and most critical investment would be investment in your education, di ba? And that's actually a good ano. Hopefully the young professionals are listening kasi hindi pagkatapos natin ng ano ng
In
college
college.
degree tapos na tayo. Bukod sa trainings, you have to it's not a requirement, but if you would want to be on the parang side na medyo may advantage, of course you would want to pursue continuing education. But anyways,
And sobrang
uh,
competitive din kasi no Lex
yeah.
ng work environment ngayon eh. So
Mm.
kailangan napaka-importante ng continuing education.
Correct. No, parang pag sinabing, oh, lahat kayo college graduate of psychology. So
Mm.
ano yung edge mo over the ano? I'm
Yes.
not saying na, 'di ba? Pero but
Wala,
that's
pero
reality, 'di ba? Yeah, thank you Doc Renz, no. So after noon, if my math is correct, around mga 10 years, no, mga 10
mm,
years na nakagraduate ka nung PhD in psychology. So is this the time when you started yung Argao Health Inc?
mhm. Actually, the Argao Health Inc. started in 2016 pa. The original
Okay.
company, ni Argao Center for Psychological Services. It was during the time that parang I was into my doctorate degree. Pero ano ba siya na name? It was more of a home-based practice, focus
Mm-mm.
more on continuing professional development trainings for psych professionals.
Mm.
Di pa ako full-time na nagki-clinic because I was also doing clinical work noon sa UST, yung sa psychotrauma clinic. That's where I was practicing noon. Hindi pa ako nag-private practice. And then, in 2019, no, kanina nabanggit yung position ko sa Religions for Peace. I was elected kasi to an international position which was very demanding. It was travel heavy. I really traveled almost every month in different countries. So, sabi ko medyo hirap na ako. If I'm teaching, kawawa naman yung mga estudyante. So, I had to
Mm.
leave teaching. And the conversations I had with my family is that they thought on since I had this plan of putting up my own clinic, why not focus on that? So sabi ko parang maganda yung timing because yun nga na parang I always travel. It's good to have my own time. And very supportive yung family ko. They were really kumbaga kung when I was starting in psychology, ayaw nila. When I started, putting up the clinic, grabe yung support. It was parang more than 180-degree turn. Lahat binigay nila to help me make the dream a reality. And nag-pandemic na
Mm.
ng 20 we opened yung first clinic namin in 2020. It was in February of 2020 na nag-private practice, na full-time private practice ako. And a month into it, nag-lockdown. So, kinailangan ulit namin magsara noon. So, but the support that the family gave really was a good push. Kasi had it not been for their support, baka yung impact ng pandemic hindi ko kinaya nung time na yan. So, and then over the year, yun, a year into the practice, lumaki yung demand, lumaki yung reach namin. Even we started catering to companies in the Philippines. Kaya parang it was a time to put up yung company, yung Argao Health as a corporation. Kinailangan na namin siyang i-put up because of the expansion din ng services. So, it was in 2021 nung naging corporation siya fully. Pero yun yan, in terms of operations, no, we trace back dun sa talagang nauna lang kami ng isang buwan bago lockdown ng pandemic.
Ang ano naman ano, parang if you look at it, masyado siyang heartbreaking kasi parang
Oo.
when you decided to, do things that you think would create impact, there's a
Dagok na
bigger
agad.
things in front of you that says, wait lang, diyan ka lang, taka lang, di ba? Parang, so, it's coming from what you're sharing right now, I mean, your family has been a very good support system to you. I
Mhm.
mean, if not from the beginning, I mean, the, your family is there, especially in times like yun nga nung when you started and then biglang nag-pandemic. So, balikan ko lang ng konti yung context. You mentioned earlier that you started as a training parang
Mhm.
training
Yes.
center. So, that function transition to becoming like more of a clinic na
Mhm.
yung
Yes. Oo.
start mo before the I mean, a month before
Oo.
pandemic. So that's Argao Health Inc.
Yes.
Yun yung ginagawa ni Argao Health Inc. ngayon. So you focus more on what specific psychological area parang ganyan
Mhm.
or
Okay.
practice.
Well, ako muna no, as an individual kasi my expertise is in psychological trauma, no, or yung tinatawag nating traumatic stress. So,
Okay.
my area of work is doing therapy, assessment, diagnosis ng individuals with trauma disorders and traumatic stress disorders na tinatawag. So, basically, yung mga parang pinaka-hinahandle kong patients are those who suffered from traumatic events like abuse, whether that's physical, sexual, emotional abuse. Kasama na din yung mga naka-experience ng trauma because of armed conflicts, yung war, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
yung natural calamities, o kaya mga accidents, no? Na nangyayari. So, yun yung pinaka-area of line of specialization ko at naging focus ko for
Mm-hmm.
more than a decade, no? Since when I was in UST kasi I was also doing clinical practice. So, for more than 2009 yun, nagsimula ako mag-clinic. So, that has been the focus. But yung Argao Health as a company, ang yun nga sabi ko kaya nag-expand kami na nag-expand, no? From being focusing on training because I really wanted to train future psychologists on different skills. May demand na to do clinical practice. So dinagdag yun, no? Yung pag-therapy ko na privately, unlike before na within UST siya. So I do therapies now, I do assessment services. Tapos nag-expand kami. Yun for individuals kasi yun dati. And then nadagdag na for couples and then for families. And then
Mm.
eventually yung workplace mental health namin na department which focuses ngayon on providing mental health program sa mga empleyado. Dati kasi focus na yan yung mga individual na punta lang dito. Pero ngayon because of the mental health law and also the need ng companies to support their employees mental health, nag open na rin tayo ng programa para sa mga empleyado. So ngayon yung Argao Health covered na din yon. And so we have training, we have individual, family and couple services. Meron ding workplace employee mental health services na binibigay namin sa mga kababayan natin syempre.
Alright. So, diverse na yung offerings
Yes,
ngayon ni
yes.
Argao Health. And I've picked some few areas that I would like to know more, and I think the audience would want to know more then. But before that, let's have a very short ano lang, announcement here. By the way, this season 2, episode 11 with of course Doc Renz of Argao Health is brought to you by Aslex Page Academy, of course in partnership with our Argao Health Inc., Pinoy IEs, Farmbox, IXLCA Review Center, Grace Apparel, and of course, Startup Podcast PH. Ayan. So, mabalik tayo dun sa madaming services ngayon na ino-offer ni Argao Health. I'm more interested dun sa work, especially dun sa workplace setup or dun sa yung ino-offer nyo to corporate. Maybe before we go to that, let's put the context of what you mentioned also earlier, mental health. Mental health, you mentioned this no from earlier. Maano pa rin yung stigma about mental health. I mean, ako personally I'm guilty. Kumbaga parang siguro as a person, if you're really not educated on something, you become judgmental of things. I don't know if that's something that you would agree, pero parang ganun eh. Parang kung hindi mo alam yung context, yung background, what you'll end up judging
Yes.
ideas, things, places, persons, yan. So, ano ba pag sinabing mental health, Doc Renz?
Actually, I agree with you doon, no, Lex. When we don't understand something, may tendency na to stigmatize or yung negative view of it. Like sa mental health, when we talk of mental health kasi yung talagang definition niya is that it is a state of our well-being. Okay? And our mental health, no, as a state of well-being, enables us to cope or to deal with the stresses of life. Kasi araw-araw meron tayong mga stress, yung traffic, trabaho, relationships, no? At kapag may mental health ka, when you are of good mental health, no, you're able to cope with these stressors. When we are of good mental health, then we know our abilities. We are realize what we are able to do. We learn well. We work well. We contribute to our communities, and we are able to form or foster positive relationships. No, ang aspekto ng mental health component siya ng health as a whole. No, so hindi natin pwedeng tanggalin yung mental health sa konsepto ng health natin. And this one, no, it covers yung feelings, yung thoughts, behaviors, relationships din natin. Ang misconception kasi about mental health, akala ng ibang tao, it's something that you have or that you don't have. It's something that if you have, ibig sabihin masaya ka. Yung iba kasi akalang ang mental health is just about happiness. At kapag nalungkot ka, poor na yung mental health. Hindi po siya ganun eh. Mental health is a spectrum, no? It's parang a continuum na nagva-vary from good mental health to poor mental health or having mental illness naman. No? So, ang mahirap yun nga dahil hindi naiintindihan ng iba, lalo na yung mga mental illness na tinatawag natin, Lex, na stigmatize, no? Or minsan na pagtatawanan, na-judge, no? Minsan may maririnig pa rin tayo na, ay nako, wala namang sakit yan, nag-iinarte lang. O kaya
Correct.
naman, ay nagpapapansin lang. O kaya,
Mm-mm.
before there were those misconceptions, no, na ang mental health or mental illness, sakit lang ng mayayaman. Kasi, hindi naman daw nagkaka-mental illness yung mga mahihirap, yung ganung thinking, no? Unfortunately, meron pa rin mga ganon, no? Na especially pinagtatawanan yung mga tao may mental illness or hindi pa pinaniniwalaan. Although, thankfully, because of the work of many advocates no na nakasama na rin natin, malaki na rin yung changes, malaki yung awareness ng tao about the importance of mental health. Although meron pang stigma, a lot of it has changed na rin naman over time.
Correct, correct. No, yan. And I think, no, maybe not in the last, I don't know, 5 years or less lang siya naging
Yes,
parang mainstream issue, no?
actually,
Especially here in the Philippines. But I think from other countries, sa US, I think that's like a common, kumbaga parang common practice that when when you're feeling that you don't have yung sa spectrum, you're parang leaning towards a poor mental health, parang you become aware and you reach to some professionals. But here in the Philippines, again, because stigmatized na, okay, ba't ako lalapit? Kasi parang there's the resistance to, or in denial ka na parang you need help, or maybe that's one, or maybe they don't see any, or they don't have reach to professionals like yourself, Doc Renz, na could help them. Or maybe they're not aware that what they're experiencing is typically something that needs to be attend to. Parang din lilipas lang din to, kasi most of us Filipinos sasabihin, hindi, baka ano lang ako, baka it's just a phase that I can shook off, parang ganon. So, thank you for giving enlightenment to our viewers, to every segments ng ano. It's, I think this is not just for professionals, this is also for students, or for parents, kasi lahat tayo may source ng stress, no? Correct me if I'm wrong, no? So it's really a matter of, coming from what I've learned from your definition, it's a matter of how we can manage itong mga stress na to, so that our mental health becomes, or stays on the parang better spectrum, or good na mental health condition. So again, I'm curious. I was researching then, no, for quite some time, and I stumbled upon this law, no, the law of about, of course, mental health, the Republic Act number 11036. So an act establishing a national mental health policy for the purpose of enhancing the delivery of integrated mental health services, promoting and protecting the rights of persons utilizing psychosocial health services, appropriating funds therefore, and other purposes. Yan. So yun yung buong ano ng law. So ibig sabihin, sorry if I can, 2017, it was uh, July 24, 2017, when it was enacted as a law. So from that framework, from that policy, how are we faring? I mean, ano ba tayo? Kumbaga sa ano, are we on track? Are there things that are advanced ba tayo? Are we lagging behind? Ano yung ano niyo dito, Doc Pence?
well, actually, in terms of the full implementation of the law, no, in my assessment, medyo, ano pa tayo, lagging pa tayo, no? May maraming
Mm-mm.
pang kulang, no?
Mm-mm.
Although, the challenge on why it was not fully implemented din naman is because of the pandemic. Kumbaga, ang
Mm-mm.
DOH kasi, ang Department of Health, ang primary agency na responsible for implementing the provisions of the law. And to give credit naman, marami nang nagawa. No? The
Mm-mm.
IRR of the law, several policy guidelines have been implemented na rin on mental health. So we've gone a long way from the time that we were lobbying the law up to the time that it was passed, and ngayon, no, during the middle of the pandemic, marami nang nagawa in terms of
Mm-mm.
implementing it. Yun lang, medyo malayo pa kasi naunang i-prioritize syempre no yung pandemic response natin.
Yes,
So
of course. Mm-mm.
understandable no bakit nagkaroon ng ganung problema. For me, what is lacking, no, yung kulang pa that we need to work on is yung bringing yung mental health services down to the community or dun sa barangay level. That's one of the aims of the mental health law. No? In the spirit of the law, ang gusto sana nating makita, it's the policy of the state na dalhin yung mental health care services down to the barangay level. Di ba sa barangay, no? Kayo siguro, Lex, meron kayong yung barangay health center.
Yeah,
Lahat
of
meron
course.
ganun, no? At meron tayong mga barangay health workers, di ba? So,
Mm-mm.
ang aim ng batas ng mental health law kahit pumunta ka lang sa barangay health center, meron kang pwedeng makuhang
You
support
can avail
or you can
services.
avail for mental health services. At matrain
Correct.
natin yung mga barangay health workers natin on
Yes.
mental health response, no? Yung
Mm-mm.
tinatawag nating psychosocial support at mental health support, no? Doon pa medyo nagkukulang dahil yun nga, nauna yung pandemic response, kaya
Mm-mm.
hindi pa
Mm-mm.
natin fully na-implement. But I think naman, given the things that the DOH have been doing, there are a lot, no, both in private practice, yung ginagawang policy natin, marami na rin nagagawa. So I think we're on track
Mm-mm.
naman. No? We're on track definitely. Yun lang more of how we fully implement it. Doon may kulang. Sa private sector, ang Department of Labor and Employment, meron ng guidelines requiring, no, mandating. Kasi sa batas may provision ang mental health law na kailangan mag-provide ang mga ang employers, no, sa empleyado nila ng mental health services, access to mental health services,
Mm.
programs that would
Mm-mm.
prevent yung mental illness,
Mm-mm.
and even raise awareness. Kaya Lex, yung sabi mo kanina, parang mga last 5 years lang, no, nagkaroon ng parang ingay tungkol sa mental health.
Mm.
Dahil na rin yan dun sa mental health law, no, nung nilalaban yan sa Kongreso, and nung napasa siya, dun talagang lumaki yung awareness. So even private organizations, companies are required to have mental health programs for their employees. And then
Mm-mm.
ang public sector naman ng ating mga ahensya ng pamahalaan, ang Civil Service Commission, meron na ring guidelines, no, under Memorandum Number 4 Series of 2020, mandating all government agencies and instrumentalities na magkaroon din ng same na mental health programs. So, may ano na rin, may progress na tayo doon, no?
Mm-mm.
Sa schools, actually, hindi rin nakakalimutan ang mental health ng ating mga estudyante. Kasi sa batas, nire-require na magkaroon nung tinatawag nating age-appropriate na mental health education sa eskwelahan. Kaya
Mm-mm.
sa ating ano niyan, basic education, no, sa tulong ng DepEd, at sa tertiary higher education naman sa tulong ng CHED, magkakaroon, no, ng integration ng mental health education sa ating paaralan. So kahit 'di ba sa ano tayo Lex, nung estudyante tayo sa PE, 'di ba may health classes tayo. Ayun,
Mm-mm.
magkakaroon ng ganun wherein mental health na rin ang
Oh.
oo, part siya ng law. So dun din, ang DepEd, ang CHED, may mga progress na rin on that. Kumaga, pinaplan siya nilang, we're on track for those.
Mm-mm.
Um, yun yung pinaka ano, ng batas na yan. So malaking tulong siya actually for all Filipinos.
Nice, nice, nice to hear. And thank you for sharing your insights about this. Kasi I mean, many of us, no, baka hindi alam na there's a law that has been enacted to, that really focuses on mental health. Again, kahit pa with all the efforts of the government and advocates like yourself and your organization, there's
Mm.
still a lot of things that needs to be done. I mean, kahit pa may access tayo to service, we're being educated on that. We're sometimes ang nangyayari is when you because this is still new, this is still young in the context of the Philippines as a country. So parang when you step forward and say, hey, I have something to in me that I think needs to be addressed through some sort of mental health services, nandun pa rin di ba? Parang I don't know. What I'm seeing is uh andun yung parang lolokohin ka nila or ititis ka
Ah,
nila na, "Ano ka ba?" Parang ganyan, something like that. And even in the context of the family, the basic unit of our society, there's really a lot of things that needs to be done. And, I'm very thankful for people like you. And I've met some of mental health advocates then from the recently concluded dinner for the gentlest. So may mga women ano tayo doon, women health advocate then mental health advocate. So really no, if you're listening right now, so this is something that you have to be aware kasi sabi nga ni Doc Renz, it's not something that is parang 1-0. It's in us. It's really a matter of nasan tayong spectrum. And sometimes dahil takot tayo, we tend to keep it to ourselves to a point na dumating sa time na hindi na siya ganun kadaling lagyan ng intervention. So, as early as possible, if you have a chance to reach professionals, no, I think that's gonna be the better way to do it. No, correct me if I'm wrong, Doc Renz, ha? Kasi I'm coming from that. I have friends and colleagues na um, has mental health conditions na they're opening up. Kaya sabi ko, okay, sige. So, ano rin yun eh, parang for me, for example, kung ako yung employer no ano, it's a good thing really to understand your employees if they're
Yes.
undergoing something, 'di ba? If they have mental health conditions that we need to consider, no? Not to single out or whatsoever to isolate, but more of to make inclusion, no? Yung
Yes,
tinatawag na
tama yun.
diversity and inclusion. So yun, yan. So, yung Argao Health now is busy on more of corporate. I mean, in
Mm,
picture as the ano the proportion coming
mm,
from your training, the yung individual, yung couple or yung ano, yung family, tapos itong biglang pumasok nga yung opportunity for yung workplace. How much percent of
mm,
the resources are allocated to the
mm.
workplace?
Well, actually, if I were to parang put a percentage, no, parang pantay lang in terms of allocation 50-50. Kasi
Mm.
um, we also value equally yung demand for individual, couple, and family services. No? Actually, pag tinignan mo yung statistics namin, kasi every month, tinitingnan natin yan, yung operations natin, halos pantay no yung demand kasi yun din because of the increase in awareness ng tao about mental
Mm.
health. Yun nga, like what you've mentioned, Lex, kanina, no, you have your friends, talking about their own experiences, their own conditions, being open about it kasi nga, may changes na, no? So, mas maraming lumalapit ngayon sa amin ng individuals for help. So, dun sa level na yun, uh, hindi rin namin pwedeng pabayaan, kumbaga. So,
Correct, correct.
naging equal siya, no, dun sa
Ah,
parts na yun.
correct. But to the context of your reach, so you're doing the, say for example, individual consultations virtually because hindi pa naman tayo nag-endemic officially, or you have clinics. You mentioned about para meron kayong clinics na
Yes, yes.
nag-ooperate. So you do both. Parang teleconsult tsaka
Yes.
face to face or physical.
Mhm.
You do
We do
that.
both actually ngayon.
Okay.
Bukas yung aming clinic dito sa San Fernando, catering for those patients na mas gustong pumunta dito face to face. So a lot of the patient, actually yung sa clinic namin dito sa San Fernando, ang pasyente namin galing din kung saan-saan. No? Dati akala ko galing lang San Fernando, galing
Yeah, yeah,
Pampanga.
yeah.
When we started, ang lalayo may galing Bataan, Zambales, Tarlac, Bulacan. And now there are patients no, na from Cavite, Laguna, pupunta pa dito just to avail of our service.
Mm-mm.
Um, and so, yun yung sa in-person. But we also do online, no, gaya na binanggit mo din.
Mm-mm.
Actually, yung online naman, in-start nating i-explore even before the pandemic. Pero mas, ano siya, mas lumawak, no? Yung expand siya. Dahil nung nag-lockdown, yung kwento ko nga, kakabukas namin, nagsarado agad
Yeah, yeah.
sa lockdown. So we had to innovate, no? Naghanap ako ng way how to still continue yung reach sa patients. So, then
Mm-mm.
nag-expand ang ano naman, ang online, yung teleconsultations or telepsych services na tinatawag namin. So, doon naman, ang reach namin, buong Pilipinas na. So,
Correct,
from
correct.
from yung sabi nga ng ano, from mula Apari hanggang Hulo, kumbaga, we
Correct,
cater
correct.
to all of those places. So, malaki na rin yung reach natin. Kaya, yun. Kaya sabi ko na, parang nagpapantay ang corporate at individuals. Kasi
Mm, yes,
sobrang
yes.
dami rin ng humihingi ng tulong. And even
Mm-mm.
yung sa corporate namin na napag-usapan natin kanina, yung companies na siniserve namin, hindi lang dito sa Pampanga. We serve companies from all over the Philippines. Dahil yung empleyado rin nila ngayon, alam mo naman ng current workplaces, very diverse din yung lugar,
Mm.
di ba? So,
Mm-mm.
kaya ang lawak ng reach din natin.
Correct. And that's good to hear. I mean, that there are organizations that exist that would help them. I mean, of course you're a business, but kasi baka sabihin ng iba, hindi kasi that's their line of work. Yeah, that's their line of work, but if we don't have like existing companies like Argo Health, and some other companies that I know, edi wala din tutulong sa atin, no? Parang they're instrumental to, having the right baseline of where we are in terms of our mental health. And so with the time, as I look into the time, medyo limited na tayo. Siguro one last question is that, I mean, in terms of itong sa Argao Health. So on top of the things na ginagawa nyo for ano, do you have like community projects that you do? I mean, not all people do have the enough resources. I don't know how established na yung gantong mga community services under the government. As you mentioned, yung IRR naman nandiyan na. They're seeing it to be at the level of the LGUs, but for now I think that's not happening yet. So in terms of what Argao Health advocates, do you have projects or like activities that you put as an intervention into the community, the level of the communities?
Mhm. Yun yan, Alex, kasi minsan ang hirap no dahil advocate ka and then ano ka din,
Yes,
businessman ka.
yes.
Hindi
Very true, very
maiiwasan
true.
yun, no? Na
Hindi mo
ako,
ma-split
oo,
minsan kung paano
mahiwalay
yung distinction. Right,
sa
right.
social media din before, lalo na when we were lobbying for the mental health law. Ako may nambash na sa akin on social media,
Oh,
sinasabi na para kaya mo lang naman nila lobby yung mental health law kasi ikaw magbe-benefit dyan. No? But what they don't know is that it's actually, I won't benefit from that kasi that will lead to offering free services. No? But kami, no, dahil kahit profit organization kami, no, that's a reality of our company. We are also advocates, no? So dun sa part na yun, hindi namin tinatanggal ang advocacy dahil kami, even as a company, our goal is to make mental health services affordable. So dun sa part na yun, we've tried, no, talaga na babaan yung rates natin para maabot siya ng ordinary Filipinos. But even though we do have those paid services, we have currently partnerships with a variety of organizations, naman, no, to allow us to offer free services to some individuals, no. Like we have partnership with Youth for Mental Health Coalition. It's a national organization of youth who have lobbied for the mental health law and who continue to have programs on mental health. So yung partnership namin sa Youth for Mental Health Coalition, makapag-provide ng free services sa kabataan. So yun, kung meron man viewers dito ngayon who might need mental health services but they don't have the finances to do so, you can reach out to Youth for Mental Health Coalition. Sabihin nyo yung partnership nyo pa with Argao Argao Health. Yun, we can offer sessions no, funded by the partnership that we have with them. We also have partnership with Sulong Philippines. No? Sulong naman is an organization that supports individuals who are survivors of abuse, particularly of sexual harassment and sexual violence. So in partnership with them, yun, nakakapag-provide din sila ng support, no? Free, kumbaga, yung service on the part of the survivors in terms of their therapy. And then we currently have other partnerships pa with other NGOs. Ganun yung nature ng partnerships natin. This mental health month, we're launching on Saturday. Meron kaming event ang tawag yung Kayap, which is a webinar, roundtable discussion focusing on mental health. Yung Kayap kasi is a Kapampangan term, no, for to
mm.
heal, kumbaga. So we have panelists that will talk about mental health. It's to raise awareness and also to launch some other community projects. And so meron kaming mga i-offer niyan na discounted services for students kasi talagang sila yung affected din, no, ng pandemic. So part of our way also of helping them is also offering those discounted rates. And also dahil nga marami kaming partnerships with schools, ayun, yun yung pinaka-community work natin. We also do community responses in times of calamities, no? Although thankfully wala pa naman na kinailangan, but we do those psychological first aid for communities na naapektuhan ng bagyo, ng kalamidad. Training then on how to conduct those, offer support. So we've had training programs with some organizations like yung Peace and Conflict Journalism Network of the Philippines, no? Yung PECOJON, where we train their journalists on how to do peer support. May mga ganung programa din naman tayo. So, napakadami. And recently, we've reached out actually to local government units, no? Sa mga mayors ng iba't ibang municipality, we started reaching out to them. Nag-offer naman kami ng free training for the barangay health workers on mental health naman.
Nice,
So,
nice.
yun yung mga, kumbaga, ayaw kasi nating iwanan ng advocacy. So, yun yung
Correct,
ginagawa
correct.
natin to continue pa din and to fuel the advocacy.
Correct, correct. Thank you, thank you. I salute you. Kudos to your team at Argao Health Doc Renz. Kasi ako parang my team is watching and they are hearing this. Sabi ko, ang hirap kapag when you started this as an advocacy and then you of course put some business model around it. Ang hirap i-distinguish. Of course, you have to serve as an entrepreneur at the same time as an advocate. Parang you have of course your fair share of responsibilities. So I understand you fully on that note. And thank you for continuing. And I know that you will not leave this advocacy part of your organization. So with the time as a constraint now, I know you have another appointment.
So,
Siguro, I'll jump into the top three lessons learned. And then after that, please tell them how they can reach you, Argo Health. Top three lessons learned that you've had so far.
Mm. Siguro, first is to never give up on your dreams no matter how hard it may seem. No? Kasi, yun nga, like yung kwento ko kanina, my family wasn't initially supportive. At that point, parang ako lang yung may gusto. So, I really pushed for it kasi yun yung gusto kong gawin. And eventually, yun nga, gaya ng kwento ko kanina, sinuportahan ako ng pamilya ko. And I had people along the way. I think that's a big help. I often tell people that kasi with where I am now, I do work on an international level. I see the world, and I see the world because I stand on the shoulder of giants, and those are the mentors who came before me and helped me to get here. So don't give up on your dreams. Sometimes hindi lang siya agad darating. May mga barriers, may mga balakid, no? Minsan walang susuporta sa'yo, pero when you actually fight for it, and you make it a reality, things eventually fall into place. So for me, yan, don't give up on those dreams. Pangalawa, since I talk about mentors, find a mentor. No? And I think, Sir Lex, you're one of those, a lot of your students look up to you as their mentor. Napakahalaga nun kasi that's how I learned it. That has helped me learn beyond the classroom, no? Akala kasi natin, ay, matututunan ko naman yun sa school. Pero ang daming hindi tinuturo sa atin ng school. No? And my mentors really helped me on those parts, on those aspects. No? Na parang tinuruan nila ako na ito yung dapat mong gawin to get on the path that you want. And yung values, no? Malaki yung part na nabigay nila sa akin on those things. So that for me would be another lesson. And siguro yung isa pang lesson about this, yung third lesson that I would like to share also, no, is that importante na pangalagaan mo rin yung sarili mo. No? So, basically, take care of yourself. That includes being kind to yourself, giving time for yourself to rest, no? And everything. Ako, as a mental health advocate and professional ako, so prioritize mo yung mental health mo. No? Kasi, minsan, ang dami natin gustong gawin. Ang dami natin gustong gawin for other people. You want to help others. You want to do this, reach that. We forget to take care of ourselves. Alam natin yung mundo ngayon is not kind. It's not an easy world to live in, di ba, Lex? So, sometimes you have to take good care of yourself kasi pag pinabayaan mo yung sarili mo, all of these things would be difficult. So, when you have a whole sense of self at pag alam mo kung ano yung kailangan mo, ano yung deserve mo, ano yung gusto mo, things become easy. Kahit anong challenges and nakakayanan mo. So, important yan, take good care of yourself. Kasi I learned that the hard way. Although yan, long story, but to keep it short, I also had physical illnesses. I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism last year. I lost a lot of weight. Emotionally, kahit mental health professional ako, syempre, tao din ako. No? I also go through those. So, kaya I learned this lesson the hard way. But for me, it's a very important lesson kasi when you take care of yourself, you can take yourself farther. You can take yourself to your dreams and make them a reality and reach your success.
Correct. Thank you. Thus, recap lang tayo, no? From what we heard and learned from what Doc Ren shared. Number one, never give up on our dreams. Number two, find the mentor. And number three, of course, take care of ourselves. Ako po ay diagnosed din with hyperthyroidism years ago. I underwent radioactive iodine. So nag-drop din ako ng ano, and ngayon medyo hypothyroid naman ako. But
Uh,
anyway, we'll talk more about that offline. But thank you, Doc Renz. Of course, of Argao Health Incorporated. Good job. Good. I mean, there
Thank you.
you have things moving, no, in terms of your field, and I think you're a great inspiration to young people, no, that are watching, and even not so young people, no, na gusto pa rin i-pursue yung dreams nila. Yan.
Yeah.
So siguro invite natin sila, no, kung paano nila pwedeng ma-reach si Argao Health.
Yes. Ayun po, if ever you need any of our services, gusto ko lang linawin, kami po hindi lamang para sa mga baliw. Kagaya na lang ng pagpunta natin sa doktor para magpa-check up at siguraduhin we are of good health, or sa dentista para siguraduhin maayos ang ating ngipin. Ganun din po sa mental health. No? Pangalagaan din po natin ang mental health natin. So, if you need any of our services, pwede niyo pong i-check yung website namin. That's www.argaocenter.com. So, yung apelido ko lang po, tapos center.com. Pwede nyo kaming, makita nyo dyan lahat ng services namin. You can book an appointment with us. You can basically see yung lahat ng kasama ko sa team. May description po ng services dyan para kung curious kayo, ano nga ba yung mga yan, meron pong detalye. We try to make that as easy to understand din po. So, yan po yung website namin. Nakalagay din po dyan yung contact numbers namin, pero banggitin ko lang din. Yung landline po namin is 045-981-5564. Again, 045 po, 981-5564. Yung ating cellphone number para pwede nyo rin kaming i-message para or tawagan kung gusto nyo mag-book ng session. Yun naman po ay 0999 713 8844. Okay, so 0999-713-8844. Ayan, tina-flash din sa ating screen. So, yun po, sa website namin, lahat po ng contact information, email, nandyan po. Ang clinic po namin location is in Queensboro Subdivision. No? So, sa may entrance lang po kami along Main Road ng San Jose sa San Fernando, Pampanga, malapit sa Eastgate Center. So, accessible naman kami sa ating mga kababayan, sa ating viewers. But we also offer online services, so pwede nyo rin po kaming ma-meet online through our online platform. Online clinic din natin. Ayan. Thank you, Lex, for giving us this opportunity to share our advocacy and para makilala rin no, ng viewers, ng maraming tao, lalo na merong mental health center sa Pampanga, sa Central Luzon. And we're actually happy, no? Kasi right now we are the largest private outpatient mental health center in Central Luzon. Kaya yun po, we really hope to reach more Filipinos.
All right, thank you, Doc Renz, for sharing that piece of information. So our viewers can follow you through your argaocenter.com website, and then even call your hotline and of course reach you via mobile. Ayan, maraming
Sorry, Lex,
salamat, Doc Renz.
pahabol pala. Ano,
Yes,
nakalimutan
sure.
ko sa Facebook pala kasi mga viewers tayo sa Facebook.
Yun, Facebook.
Search nyo lang Argao Psych po. No? That's Argao and then Psych, P-S-Y-C-H on Facebook. Ayan, mas madali kasi alam ko mas marami sa atin are on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook din po. Like nyo lang din yung page. May sinishare din kami dyan mga information, no? Like on how to take care of your mental health. Ayan.
Ayan. So, follow of course Argao Psych sa Facebook para makita niyo mga contents, relevant contents to of course mental health and all. Ayan, maraming salamat, Doc Renz, no, for saying
Thank
yes. I
you,
think
Lex.
this session has been very fruitful. We're looking forward to collaborating with you, offering services, no, to our community of engineers and analysts and young professionals. So let's talk about it offline. But for now, thank you po. And because limited yung time natin, so we have to say goodbye to Doc Renz for now. Thank you, Doc
Thank you, Lex.
Renz.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, so that is Doc Renz Argao of Argao Center. Ayan, maraming salamat po, no, for that great session. And again, just to mention, this is this episode, season 2, episode 11, Kapihan with Sir Lex, featuring of course Dr. Renz Christian Argao of Argao Center, Argao Psych at Facebook, is brought to you by Aslex Speech Academy, of course, in partnership with Argao Health Inc., Pinoy IEs, Farmbox, iExalCA Review Center, Grace Apparel, and Startup Podcast PH. So again, maraming salamat po. I hope you learned from this particular session. A very good session with a very good guest, and we'll make sure we'll try our best to have another session next week, same time, Wednesday 7 p.m. So magandang gabi po sa ating lahat, and let's keep safe, and let's continue to be #significantly better together. Bye!